Good morning. So I brought some Dafei Mekorot with me. The shiur I'm going to give today is actually a shiur of someone named Dr. Yoshi Ferjun. He's a great Tanakh scholar, and he has the most interesting shiurim. And I want to discuss an idea of his. So I brought his Dafei Mekorot also. And very interesting.
Two pages, yeah?
Yes, 2 pages.
Are you in English or Hebrew?
Hebrew.
Hebrew, more in Hebrew.
If not, I would just send the link and I would. No, but it's so we started Tuvim, we started Tehillim. So a short introduction to Tuvim in general, and then I want to say something about Tehillim. And the way I'll say it was, instead of having an introduction to Tehillim, we'll actually learn a parak of Tehillim, one of today's pakim, parak Kaf, and through that we'll understand something general about Tehillim, and maybe something even not only about Tehillim, but about the Tanakh and the era in general. So first of all, if we look at the Tanakh, hi, good morning. There are the people today. If we look at the Tanakh from from a bird's eye, we have a look at the Tanakh. Then we have the Torah, which is Hashem's revelation, and then we could continue with the Nevuah. The Nevi'im are an extent of that revelation, meaning Hashem's ongoing revelation. So there was the great revelation in Sinai, and then but Hashem continues to reveal himself throughout history, and that is in the Nevi'im. So our connection to Hashem, which is depicted through the Nevi'im, is mainly Hashem's voice to us. That is basically what the Nevuah is. But if we want, after the Torah, we could, instead of the Nevi'im, we could go to another continuation, and that is the continuation of Tuvim. Tuvim are not what Hashem has to say to us, but what we have to say about our connection with Hashem. If you look through the books of Tuvim, that is what they deal with. And they deal with it in different ways. So we're starting Tehillim. Tehillim is our yearning, our cry to Hashem, our pray to Hashem, asking Hashem to help us. That is one way of our connection to Hashem. Then there are other books that talk about what we think about Hashem, what we think about Hashem's treatment of us, like Kohelet, etc. And then we have Mishlei, what we think, how Hashem wants us to behave and act in this world outside of revelation. So now, Tuvim was also written in Ruach HaKodesh, but Ruach HaKodesh is not Nevuah. Ruach HaKodesh, we have also we have accounts that are told to that are given to us of Ruach HaKodesh, even of times very close to us. So Ruach HaKodesh is something much less than I don't know, less, but different to Nevuah. Nevuah is hearing Hashem's voice. Ruach HaKodesh is being inspired. So there's a big difference there. So it's more of a human perspective, a very devout perspective, but still a human perspective throughout Tuvim. Now, Tehillim, as I said before, is mainly prayer, cry to Hashem. Now, traditionally, when we have tzarot, when we have bad things, a bad day, we turn to Hashem. But it's not because the Tehillim. So sometimes we think, what are Tehillim? Tehillim are a bunch of things that we say when we cry. But we have also Hallel. Hallel are basically things that we say when we're happy. Tehillim is a collection of poems that have to do with our relationship to Hashem. Sometimes we cry to Him, sometimes we thank Him, and sometimes we say other things. And the question is also, each of these poems were written at a certain time, perhaps for a certain purpose, and they're said in a certain context. And to try and understand that, so first of all, we could look at a poem and see what it is about, and to try and understand what is the context of it? So some of them are very personal, right? So we have some of them which are really personal. David is talking to Hashem about his personal struggles with life, with his enemies, with all kinds of things, and that is definitely very personal. But then there are mizmorim that are less, that are maybe about something which is more grand, maybe something that the community says, maybe something that the Leviim say in Beit HaMikdash. And so seems to be Mizmor Perek Kaf, which is one of the Mizmorim that we are going to say to learn today. And I want to do it, try and see this Mizmor in the Shiur. So I want to start on page 2 of the Mekorot. So this is a Mizmor that we say almost every weekday. We are all familiar with this Mizmor because we say it at the end of Tfilat Shacharit between Ashrei and Uva L'Tzion on days which are not too happy, right? Because it says here, Yancha Hashem b'Yom Tzara, so on a day which is not Yom Tzara, we don't say this. But as we will see soon, it's quite an optimistic Mizmor. But still, it's a Mizmor which we say when we are in trouble. And the Midrash in Tehillim actually relates to this saying of the Mizmor every day. And if you look at source number 1 on page 2, so Amar Bishimon Ba'aba at Motzei 18 Mizmorim Rosh Tilim ad Mizmor Zeh. So according to some versions, this was Mizmor Yutet, not Mizmor Kaf. Why? Because Ashrei ve'lama ragshu goyim chadhu. The Mizmor Aleph and Bet is actually, according to this counting, is one Mizmor. Okay, so we should have done more that day according to this counting. Okay, but anyhow, and this is the 19th. Okay, so he says, כנגד 18 ברכות שאדם מתפלל בכל יום, והם אומרים לו, תתעניץ לותך. Because this comes, these 18 mizmorim are against the 18 brachot, which is the tefillah that every Jew says every day. And at the end of these 18 brachot, he is told, Yancha Hashem, now Hashem will answer you. And this is the 19th mizmor. So says the Gemara, אמרו לו, והם אומרים לו, תתעניץ לותך. כך אחר 18 מזמורים, אמרו לו, לדוד ינחה השם ביום צרה. So too, after 18 mizmorim of David, then he understands, or he is told, Mishamayim, Yancha Hashem. Hashem is going to answer you now after these 18 mizmorim. Ve'im tomar tisha asar hen. Just a minute. Maybe they're 19. So, if Ashrei and Ragshu Goyim are together, then it's 19. So he says, no, not a problem. Emelo tfilat achol 19 brachot avian. Im matzmiach keren Yeshua. Okay, so here it's a different. So he says, how many do we say today? Brachot. We call them 18, but they're actually 19. So there are two versions how we got to 19. One is Vilam al-Shinim, that is the more well-known version, but there is another version that the actual new bracha is Matzmiach Keren Yeshua, and that is interesting because Matzmiach Keren Yeshua is about David. So it's even tied to David. But anyhow, so this is an interesting midrash. But what I want to focus on is vehen omrim lo tit'anitz lotcha, meaning or amru lo leDavid yancha Hashem b'yom tzara. So this mizmor, who is it told to according to this midrash? To David, right? So at the opening of the mizmor, when it says let's before we get to the opening, let's look at the midrash itself. So Yancha Hashem b'yom tzara, someone is telling someone else, Hashem will answer you in the day of tzara. Yisagivcha Hashem Elohei Yaakov, which is more or less the same meaning. Yishlach ezrecha mikodesh He'll send help from Kodesh, from the temple. That's probably what it means. Umitzion isadecha, from Zion, Yerushalayim, he will help you. Remember all the korbanot that you brought, and therefore will help you. He'll do you what you think, and then it changes a bit. Okay, so again, we're going to go through the whole mizmor, exactly what it means in a moment, but I want to first show that it's easy to see that someone is telling someone else that Hashem is going to help that someone, right? And then Ata yadati ki yoshia Hashem meshicho yaneh mishmei kodsho. And then at the end, after we said that, we say, now we know, meaning now it actually happened that Hashem had redeemed his Mashiach. So now we know who we were talking to all the time. Hashem redeemed his Mashiach, Yaneh mishmei kodsho, and he answered him from his celestial heavens. Okay, then it goes on. Okay, Hashem Moshiach Melech Yaneh Kohen. So it seems from Yaneh Meshicho that this is actually something that someone is telling the king. Okay, so so someone is telling the king could be David, could be another king. So if this is something that is told to the king, and we'll soon think at what context, then what do you mean? David HaMelech is the king, so he's telling the king, he's telling himself, Yancha Hashem b'yom tzara. He should say, Yaneni Hashem b'yom tzara. So what is this about? So really, if you look at source number 4, the Radak really explains, Lamnatzeach mizmor leDavid, Lashon leDavid, Perashtia ba'avur David, כמו אמרי לי אחי הוא. והמשורר היה אומר אותו בעבור דוד בצאתו למלחמה. So says the Radak, right, this mizmor is not David saying. So mizmor leDavid here means it's like mizmor shir leyom HaShabbat. When we say mizmor shir leyom HaShabbat, it's not that Shabbat wrote this mizmor. It's that this mizmor is said for Shabbat. So also here, mizmor leDavid, this is a mizmor that is said for David. And the Radak explains, Betzeito LaMilchama. How do I know Betzeito LaMilchama? Because it says, right? Ele barechev, ele basusim, אנחנו נשמע Hashem Elokeinu yazkir. We know from the end that this is, okay. So now the mizmor starts to make sense. So this is a mizmor. This is something that is said to the king, in our case David, but perhaps also to other kings later, that when he goes out to battle, then someone is telling him, don't worry, everything will be fine. Hashem will be with you. However, if you look at the Meiri, source number 5, there, למנצח מזמור לדוד, יענך השם, זה המזמור חיברו דוד. להיות הלוויים אומרים אותו עליו בכל עת שיצא למלחמה. Says the Radak, the author of the poem doesn't need to be the one who recites the poem, right? We have the author and we have the one who recites it. So you're asking how David is the author, it is said for him. You're right, it is said for him, but he's also he's the author, he wrote it, he gave it to the Levim and said, here, you sing it while I go to battle. That's very much possible. However, both Radak and
third person.
Sorry?
He wrote it in third person.
He wrote it in third person because it's for them to tell him. So meaning he wrote it he's the audience in this case, but maybe, after him, he might not be the audience. He wrote it as a general thing to say to the king. He now happens to be the king, but next generation, Shlomo will be the king, etc., etc. So
say a prayer for me, here's the text.
Yes. Something like that. So, but both Radak and the Meiri, we see, understand it as very clear as that it is said bechol et sheyetzeh lamilchama. But the Meiri also tells us who is it that say it to the king. It's the Leviim. Now, how did he get to the Levim? So I think he got to the Levim because the setting at the beginning of the Mizmor is really, it seems like Beit HaMikdash. למנצח מזמור לדוד, יענך השם ביום צרה, יסגבך השם אלוקי יעקב, ישלח עזרך מקודש ומציון יסדך. So David is in the capital in Jerusalem, and he's now about to leave and go to the battleground. And before he leaves, he comes to Beit HaMikdash, and the Levim there sing and say, Hashem will help you from here, from Mikodesh u'mitzion yisadeka, and from here we'll send your help. So it's something that the Levim sing to the king before he goes into battle. Very good. So there's a question. There is no Beit, but there is somewhat. There is an ohel with Aaron there. There was something there even during the days of David, and maybe there was no Beit HaMikdash then, but later it became also part of Beit HaMikdash in the later kings. When David wrote it, there was no. Later there was, but also before that there was something there. There was the Aaron and the oil or whatever it was. So that is the beginning of the midah. So Lamnatzach Mizmor LeDavid. Let's read the first two psukim. So either for David or by David, depending on the different perushim. And then now these are now the Mizmor. The poem actually starts with Yancha. Yes, that is where it begins. And this is very in general. It's very interesting to note when we say Tehillim, then we cry the Tehillim, and we cry it already from the first pasuk, like we cry the entire Mizmor. But usually the first pasuk is just telling us either who the author is or what instruments to use when what musical instrument, like Mentzach al Shoshanim Mizmor LeDavid, or al Ashminit, or all of these are music instruments that were used in Beit HaMikdash. And it says, you use this instrument when you say this Mizmor. And so and sometimes they're instructions to the conductor or the authorship of the Mizmor. But anyhow, the Mizmor usually starts with pasuk bet. So Yancha Hashem b'yom tzara. So this is the Levim. As the Meiri tells us, the Levim are standing in the temple, singing to the king before going out to battle. Yancha Hashem b'yom tzara. Hashem will answer you in the day of your tzara. How would you translate tzara? It's not sorrow. It's like
Distress.
Distress. Thank you. Yes, the day of your distress. Yisagivcha Shem Elohei Yaakov. Yes, so Hashem will make you high, and you will succeed. Ishlach ezrecha mikodesh umitzion yisadeka. He'll send your help from Kodesh, from the Mikdash, and from Tzion, from Yerushalayim. He will support you. Yizkor kol minchotecha. So this is interesting. What is Yizkor kol minchotecha? He'll remember all your menachot. It could be maybe he'll remember all the korbanot that you gave during the days, maybe. But Davka Radak explains Yizkor in a very interesting way. Yariach, meaning the king before going out to battle, brings mincha to Hashem, and Hashem, so to speak, smells it, right? Yariach mo azkarata la Hashem. When the Torah tells us that the kometz of the mincha goes onto the mizbeach, then it tells us that it goes azkarata. It calls it azkara. That means the smell, he says. So that's interesting. Yizkor mincha v'olatcha yedashne sela. Okay, so he will accept your olah pleasantly. Yiten lecha kilvavecha v'chol atzatcha yemale. So what does it mean? Yiten lecha kilvavecha. What does that mean? What do you think? Yes. So he'll give you what you desire, what you want, according to your thoughts. V'chol atzatcha yemale, and all your plans he will go well. He will fulfill. Yeah, because you're going out to battle, you probably have a battle plan, you know what you do, so it will all go well. Okay, Neranena bishuatecha. So what does that mean? Who is this said to? Neranena bishuatecha.
You're not saying it to the king.
To the king, right? We will rejoice in your salvation, the king. Uveshem Eloheinu nidgol. However, we will, nidgol is maybe bilshon degel, you look up, right? Nes, but we'll look up to Hashem, meaning we'll understand that your salvation actually comes from Hashem. Yemale Hashem kol mishalotecha. And Hashem will fulfill all your wishes, coming back to what we said before. Okay, so up until here, the Levim are talking to the king, and now all of a sudden there's a change. Ata yadati, now I knew. It's also impersonal. It's not yadanu, because the Levim are all singing. If it's the Levim, then it has to be right. And neranena, it before it wasn't aranena. It was neranena. It was many people. All of a sudden here is I knew. Kioshi Hashem Meshicho, his Mashiach, Yanehu, he answered him. It's not Yancha anymore. It's now he answered him. It's like the king, I'm not talking to the king, I'm talking to myself or maybe to other people about the king. Mishmei Kodsho Bigvurot Yesh Yamino. And then I continue, Eile Barechev, Eile Basusim, Anachnu Shem Hashem Elokeinu Nazkir. Okay, they are with their chariots and horses, and we are with our call to Hashem. They fell, we got up. Now, just a minute. Who is v'anachnu kamnu? The Levim in Beit HaMikdash? They're getting up? It's someone else getting up. Vanitodad. Sorry? The warriors. Right. So there was somewhere there was a change from the Levim to the warriors. If it was the Levim at the beginning. And we have to figure that out. Hashem Hoshia, Hamelech Yaneinu B'Yom Koreinu. And then there is, it ends with Hashem Hoshia. Okay, now this is very interesting. Who's Hamelech?
Hashem.
Is it Hashem? Because according to the pshat of the midrash of the perek, Hamelech is supposed to be the one that the right? It's the Levim are singing to the king. So it could be that it is Hashem Hoshia HaMelech. Yaneinu Yom Koreinu. Meaning Hashem, God save the queen. God save the king. Yeah, the king. The king now. Yes, I'm still used to. Yes. Right? Hashem Hoshia HaMelech. Yaneinu B'Yom Koreinu. Hashem save the king. Hashem answer us when we call you. Now the truth is that from the pshat it makes sense, because if you look at the number of letters of words in the pasuk, then usually when you chant, then it has to be, it's called mishkal, right? Hashem Hoshia. So like Hashem Hoshia, Hamelech Yaneinu B'Yom Koreinu. It doesn't sound right, but Hashem Hoshia Hamelech Yaneinu B'Yom Koreinu. Right, you have 3-3. Hashem Hoshia Hamelech Yaneinu B'Yom Koreinu. It's
never
more.
said it like that. It's like,
Sorry, what?
no, it's never said.
No, we don't say it like that. But it could be that's what it means. Now the if you look at source number 11, that is what Amos Chacham suggests. תיבת המלך שבפסוק י' ניתנת להמשך למעלה ולמטה. וייתכן שעל פי המשמעות המקורית של המזמור, תיבת המלך ראויה להמשך למעלה. כלומר, העם מבקשים שהשם יושיע את המלך. אלא שכבר שנים רבות שעבד מלך בשר ודם מישראל, ואין מלך לישראל, אלא מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ולפיכך נשתנתה משמעות הפסוק, ודברת המלך נתפרשה כגינוי להשם, וממילא נמשכה אל סוף הפסוק. So this is very interesting. If you look at source 3, I won't read it now. He has a whole theory about this, about the mizmor, what its original use and what its actual use throughout the ages. He says, now we don't have melech. So when we now say Tehillim, we're not talking about HaMelech, we're talking about us. So he says, now we read it, really, Hashem Moshiach, HaMelech Yaneinu Yom Kohen. But it could be that the original pshat was Hashem Moshiach HaMelech Yaneinu Yom Kohen. Okay, but I now want to say something about this Mizmo in general. We said there is a change in the Mizmo towards the middle. If you look at source number 12, page 3, source number 12, the top source. The Tamim and Tehillim, we don't know how they go.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, it's so interesting.
Yes, we have if you look at the Tamim and Tehillim, you'll see all kinds of things that we don't know what they even mean. Look, for instance, look at HaMelech. How do you read that? It has, what does it call? In other Tamim, you can't read it. No. I don't know how you read it. It's not
That's it.
yeah, but the etnachta in Tehillim is never an etnachta. And there's also an upside down etnachta sometimes. What is that? And there are all kinds of simanim in Tehillim that we don't know what they actually mean. It's very difficult to yes. We don't have chanting for Tehillim, right? For the different Megillot, we have chanting for Nevi'im, we have chanting for Torah, we have chanting for Tehillim, we don't have, right? Because we don't know how to read it. Well, or maybe
That's so
maybe it
sad,
works.
if it was, everything was read in a song. That's
Right,
so
right,
sad.
right. Sorry?
definitely have two things.
No, not lefi the simunim, not lefi the te'amim, not ta'amei mikra.
You don't have for the time. You have a sec and this, you read it different.
You don't read the you try to read it the way you think, meaning we assume that in certain places there's the mafsik or something like that, but it's not the te'amim. Like when we read in the Torah, each siman has a mangina. In Tehillim, we don't have it, that each siman has a mangina. Let's see, where do we have something funny, like really funny? No, not too many here, but yeah, look at the word. Look at the word Neranena Bishuatecha. How do you read that? Neranena Bishuatecha. The word Bishuatecha.
Shuatech is very interesting.
Yes. Or in the word Meshicho, you have this thing on top of the word. We don't have that anywhere else. It's not, we don't recognize that siman. Right? The word Meshicho in Pasuk Zayin. You see the siman on the shin, on top of the shin? We don't have that in other, we have it under the word in other time, but in Tehillim we have it also on top. What does it mean? Okay. Anyhow, if we look at Mizmot, at source 12, then we could see clearly there that we are able to divide the Mizmot into two parts. The one part may be said by the Leviim at the beginning, at the Meiri suggests, and the other part said by the warriors in battle once they're actually fighting. And it's interesting because both halves are exactly 33 psukim each, 33 words each. So it starts with Yancha. The Yalkut Shimoni already tells us that it starts with Yancha Hashem b'yom tzara, and it ends with Ya'anenu b'yom korenu. But is it the same? Yancha Hashem b'yom tzara and Ya'anenu b'yom korenu. Is it actually the same? So they're both starting with Aniyah, as the Yalkut Shimoni says. Hamizmor hazeh rosho ba'aniyah v'sofo ba'aniyah, but it's a different type of Aniyah. At the beginning, it's Ya'ancha, Hashem will answer you, the king. At the end, is Hashem will answer us. So it's very clear that at the beginning, the king is the one that is being sung to, and at the end, we are davening for ourselves. Hashem will answer us. So what is the difference? So it could be that the Levim are in Yerushalayim, they're safe. The king is going out to battle, and the Levim are saying, Hashem will answer you. The warriors with the king in battle, it's very nice. They hope that the king will be Matzliach, that's very nice. But they also hope that they'll be okay, right? Each and every one of us is now in danger in battle. So that is the one answer, the one difference. But it could be that is also why the whole way of singing is different, because the Levim are singing to the king, and therefore it's everything. Yancha, Yemala Hashem kol mishalotecha, kilvavecha, kol atzatcha yemale. The people in battle, even when they're praying for the king, they're not talking to the king because they're now engaged in battle. Each one of them is on on themselves. Maybe the king is there with one group and they're here with another group. They're not necessarily together, and they're not also in the setting where they're now in battle. They're b'shem Hashem. They're koreh b'shem Hashem. So they're even when they ask for the king, they ask for the king in Nista, right? So it's now Va'anachnu, it's not in our king, but all the warriors together are B'Shem Hashem Elokeinu Nazkir. Now, where is it that B'Shem Hashem Elokeinu Nazkir? Here, saying this Mizmo, that is B'Shem Hashem Elokeinu Nazkir. So it's interesting that the Mizmo itself is the B'Shem Hashem Elokeinu Nazkir. And therefore, Hemekau v'nafalu v'anachnu kamnu v'nitodad, Hashem Hoshia, HaMelech, Ya'aneinu v'yom Korenu. Okay, now, if you look at the two halves, and it's interesting, in source 13, you see that Yancha Hashem b'yom tzara and Yishlach Ezrecha mikodesh. So where would the help come from? From the Kodesh, from here, from the temple. Mitzion Yisadecha. You're going out to the battle, but don't worry. Here, we will be continuing to serve Hashem, and the help will come from here. But in battle, from where? So before it's Yancha Mikodesh, now it's Yanehu Mishmei Kodsho, from the celestial heavens. Because in battle, they're not in Beit HaMikdash now; they're now here. So Hashem is in heaven. So it's a different setting. Then you will see, Yizko kol minchotecha. When the Levim sing, they say, why will you be saved? Because of the mincha that you are giving to Hashem in Beit HaMikdash. So Yizko kol minchotecha. So the word Lizko also comes later when the warriors sing in Pasuk Chet, Eile b'rechev eile b'susim, v'anachnu b'shem Hashem Elokeinu nazkir. But here nazkir is not the korbanot, but what is b'shem Hashem Elokeinu nazkir? We are here. Nazkir is mentioning. Yes, we are. Or
so it says when we win, then we'll attribute.
You say that's what it means, but it is equivalent. It's comparing it to the rechev and the susim. They now have rechev and susim. We now have something else. We have the name of God, which we are calling to. That is what we have. So nazkir here is calling to God. Lazkir is to mention something, to say it. Tfilot, right? So I think that's what it means. So in Beit HaMikdash, the Levim are talking about the korbanot. In the battlefield, the warriors are talking about the tefillot. So this is another source of uneshalma parim sfateinu, right? Many times we see that tefillah and korbanot go together. Tefillah is like korbanot. So here too, you have the korbanot in Beit HaMikdash, tefillah in the battlefield. And then, that's what the Levim told the king in Beit HaMikdash. Hashem will make everything go well. And here too, so see, the two halves are basically parallel to each other. And it ends, the first half ends with Neranena bishuatecha, we will rejoice with your salvation, or by your salvation. And Hashem Hoshia, so Yeshua and Yeshua are mentioned in both. Hamelech Ya'anenu b'yom koreinu. So the two halves are basically parallel to each other. So that's very interesting. Okay, so that is the Mizmor itself. Now I want to, in 5 minutes, to bring in another bit of information. So first of all, I think it's interesting to see that these Mizmorim are not just a group of psukim of someone shouting to Hashem and saying things. They're very the how to say them, the structure. They're very structured, and words that are mentioned deliberately in each place, and they might be said. Now, we don't have to understand that it was said by the Levim there and warriors. That's one possibility. Maybe it was all said in battle before going out or something like that. But it's nice to see that there are definitely distinct two halves to this Mizmor that are different. The first half is speaking directly to the king. The second half about the king. The first half speaking only about the king, not about the ones speaking. The second half about the king and the ones speaking. So these are definitely differences that we see, and the two halves are basically parallel to each other. That's very easy to see. As well. Sorry?
Look at it. The first 7 before battle, the last 7 after.
So it could be. It could be that, yes. So it could be that also one is before and one is after. Exactly. That the second one is saying atayadati. Now I know because it just happened, and now and because and therefore we won. They fell and we got up. That's true. That is. Sorry?
If they would be sung at 2 different times, wouldn't you expect them to be 2 separate?
Not necessarily. Could be that it's said here, it's said there. Not necessarily. Okay. What is so interesting about this Mizmor is that a papyrus was found in Egypt with almost exactly this Mizmor, 2 other gods. You believe it? Okay. Now, thank God, this papyrus, thank God, I'm joking, thank God. This papyrus is quite a late papyrus. It's from somewhere between the 4th and the 2nd century BCE, right? We have to say. It's not so old. It's old, yeah, over 2,000 years ago, but not so old. It's later than the Tehillim, most, right? So how did that happen? So let's look at that. So Dr. Yoshi Ferjun actually brings. Now the funny thing is, it's in Egypt, but it's written in Aramaic, and gods of different civilizations are mentioned there. So you have an Egyptian god, you have a Canaanite god, and you have a Jewish god there as well. So, and they're all mixed together. So let's look at I'm reading from the middle. So if you have here a table, the right-hand side is the actual papyrus. It's written in Aramaic, but Aramaic that is very similar to Hebrew, so it's easy to even from the papyrus itself see what it says. The middle is a Hebrew translation of the papyrus, and the left-hand side is the Mizmor. So the Mizmor says, Yancha Hashem b'yom tzara, Yisagevcha Hashem Elokei Yaakov. The papyrus says, Ya'anenu Hu. Hu, that's Horus. Is that the Egyptian god, I think, right? So, yes. Betzarotenu, Ya'anenu Aleph Daled Nun Yud. It could be that it's referring, so it could be, I went back to page number 1. Sorry. Page number 1. Sorry. Yes. So, Ya'anenu Chol Betzarotenu, Ya'anenu this could refer to Hashem, or it could refer to just the master. It's not clear. Betzarotenu. Okay. Yishlach ezrecha mikodesh mitzion yisadeka. Shlach. So here there is something that is there is an extra line here. Ho kashat bashamayim zahar. But Yishlach ezrecha mikodesh. Shlach tzircha min mikdash eres. So Eres could be a place, and there are different theories where it is, but it's Yishlach ezrecha mikodesh. Umitzafon chor yisadenu, mitzion yisadeka. Okay? Then Yiten lecha kilvavecha, Yiten lanu chor kivilvavenu. V'chol atzatcha temale, kol atzatenu chor yemale. Yemale Hashem, yemale chor, lo yechsar Hashem. Kol mish'alotecha in the Mizmor, kol mish'alot libenu in the papyrus. Eile b'rechev, eile b'susim in the Mizmor, eile b'keshet, eile b'chanit in the papyrus. ואנחנו בשם השם אלוקינו נזכיר, אבל אנחנו מר אלוהינו חור יה אלינו עמנו. אוקיי? השם משה המלך יעננו ביום קוראנו, יעננו מחר אל בית אל, בעל שמיים מר יברך לחסידיך ברכתך. Okay, so it's very, 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 very similar. It's not just there are a few parallels. It's like basically the same thing. So what is this? So it could be many things, but a very, very likely thing is, do you remember Yirmiyahu in Perek Memchet? No, Memchet or maybe Memhe. Sorry.
So many people went down to Mitzrayim. It's not.
Mm-hmm.
So many
Right.
people went down to Mitzrayim. It's not strange at all.
Right. Right. Oh, I don't remember where was it in Mitzrayim? Sorry. Okay, I don't remember, I can't see it now. I'm sorry. But if we go to Yirmiyahu, I'll tell you and you'll remember what I'm talking about. Yirmiyahu speaks about after Gedaliah is murdered and everything, then a big group goes down to Mitzrayim. And then Yirmiyahu has a nevuah to them. What are you doing in Mitzrayim? You forgot your Hashem. You forgot Hashem. You're Oved Avodah Zarah there. Don't you remember the reason why you were going in Galut was because you were Oved Avodah Zarah. Now you continue to worship Avodah Zarah. So we have Jews that came to Mitzrayim and are worshiping Avodah Zarah. So this very well may be part of that Avodah Zarah. They come with their Tehillim, and Avodah Zarah is not always that they left everything that they had and now we're doing Avodah Zarah. Avodah Zarah, pagans were very tolerant of all gods. You didn't have to leave your original God in order to worship the new God. you basically you fuse them together. That's what usually pagans did. And this is
Everything was full of.
exactly. And this is what it could be, that this is what we have here. We have here, and it makes perfect sense.
Borrowed the worship of the false.
Yes, yes.
That-
No, but now why does it make sense that that's what happened? Because it's first of all written in Aramaic. Aramaic is not Egyptian. It's a safa that it's the language spoken here in Eretz Yisrael. So someone came from here to there. And the places mentioned are not places of Mitzrayim, are places that are mentioned in the northern kingdom of Israel. And Yah is mentioned, Yud Kei Vav Kei is mentioned, other Israelite gods together with all these pagan gods. So it must be that someone here is of an Israelite origin or a Judean origin or something like that, who is there, is the one that
The Egyptian museum has this, or do we get?
no, I don't know where this papyrus actually is. I don't know, but it's yeah. So basically, it could be that this is part of the Avodah Zarah. So they took Tehillim. Now, why am I saying this? I'm saying this because I think also today, and this is what I'm going to finish with, we have our tradition, and then we come into contact with other values and other traditions. And the question is, what type of values and traditions our tradition can tolerate, and what values and traditions might be antithesis to our tradition. And I don't think that distinction is always clear. Many times we're so entrenched in general culture that sometimes making the difference between what is us and what we actually believe in, what we think is good, what we value, and what we should keep at bay and not allow coming in, it's not always clear. I feel that many times we allow, let's call them, those days there were strange gods. Today we have strange values to come in and interfere with our beliefs, and we have to be alert and realize that one day there wouldn't be this strange papyrus where you have, or it wouldn't be papyrus. It would be, they'll find a computer chip that has some Jewish things, but some very strange things that people then also believe. Then what's going on here? We don't want that to happen. We want to keep true to Hashem, and Be'ezat Hashem shenatzliach. So I'll just summarize very quickly. So what we saw. We spoke about. Thank you. We spoke about general Ketuvim as opposed to Nevi'im. Nevi'im is a continuation of Hashem's revelation. Tuvim is our perspective of our connection to Hashem. In Sefer Tehillim, mainly through Tefillah, through turning to Hashem. Although here, this Mizmor Kaf, is not Tefillah. We're not turning to Hashem necessarily, but we are speaking to the king or to ourselves and telling ourselves that because of our faithfulness or our commitment to Hashem, He will help us. But that is also a type of tefillah, and maybe one day we'll say something about that as well. But so we saw that a Tehillim has a structure, and there is meaning behind it, and each poem has its history and what it was written for, what it was used for, and how do we say it today? What does it mean to us today? It's not always the same, right? It's not always the same thing, because here it's a song to a king, but we say it every day. We're not singing it to the king. We're saying it to ourselves. So it means something maybe in essence the same, but in a different way to us.
Why can't it be the king God? Like, that's how I always thought of it. Why is that so hard?
No, that could be.
Okay.
That could be. Yeah, no. I'm saying it could be that it's Hamelech, not Hamelech Kipshuto, but it could be. Today when we read it, it's obviously God, because that's what we mean when we say it. But and then we saw, I mentioned the interesting anecdote of the papyrus that is very similar to the Tehillim, but it's probably a corrupted version of the original. So, Yom Tov,
Very.
Shavua Tov, today.
What's interesting, the papyrus is 20 feet high.